My name is Euphomia Edward. I'm the Development Education Officer for AkiDwa. And for those who don't know us, AkiDwa is a short form of Akina Dada wa Africa. Akina Dada is a Swahili word meaning sisterhood. It was formed by a group of migrant women in 2001. So we have like more than 2 decades of existence here in Ireland. And our vision is to ensure that there's an equal opportunity and access to resource for migrant women, be it social, cultural, economic, civic, and political. But also our main mission is to promote equality and justice for migrant women in Ireland. And we have different programs, which I want to go in details. But we work on issues around women's health, issues around domestic and sexual gender-based violence, but also on female genital mutilation. That's our also big program in both prevention and supporting survivors of female genital mutilation and development education. And of course, that's the reason we are here today. So our work on development education is under the project Together for a Better World. This project began way back in 2020, where we were just creating informal spaces for dialogue for migrant women to dialogue on issues that affect them within their community. And then it grew up into like a bigger project and is funded now by the Department of Foreign Affairs. And our main aim is to equip migrant women and those from indigenous background in Ireland with tools and knowledge to be able to reflect on their roles in creating a more fairer and sustainable future. Is not to see like the world, the better world that you want to see as something that is distant. Like when they hear about the Sustainable Development Goals, what do they think? Do they think they have a role in making sure that this is achieved? Of course, that's to challenge myself as well, being a migrant woman as well. So we use the Sustainable Development Goals as the tool for reflection on key issues of sustainability, on socioeconomic and environmental, but our main focus is centered on Sustainable Goal number 5 on gender equality and Sustainable Goal number 10 on reduced inequality. So through these goals which touch the lives of migrant women, we have had spaces of dialogue. And also the main goal is also to make sure that the migrant women, they become more responsible and they are aware of what is happening in Ireland, but as well as international or at global level. And at the end, to be able to take action, to be more active participants in the community, but also in the context of respecting others, to value diversity, and also to look at integration beyond the other aspects that are mostly prioritized, like learning English, getting a job, but looking at integration at a bigger picture. So throughout implementing this program, we created spaces for dialogue. And one of the things that usually was coming out is the existing inequality in different spaces where migrant women are. And one of them is in the emergency accommodation centers, especially for these migrant women who are in the asylum process. So this is one of the voices that came up in one of our training that I've learned that my voice matters, I will use to challenge inequality. So after women started to open up is when we designed this project in response to these issues that always were coming up during our discussions on the key inequalities that exist in the emergency accommodation center. And this Unheard Voices, which is a separate project, is also contributing to AkiDwa's mission to support migrant women in Ireland. And it's focused on migrant women seeking international accommodation, international protection in Ireland. And also, this was funded by Ireland Funds and a private funder, Lucy Gaffney. So the main objective of the project, I'll go through them quickly, is to include, engage, and listen to migrant women who are in the asylum process, and also to document their experiences, and also to provide a peer-to-peer and psychosocial support, and also to offer training on gender-based violence issues. Also, parenting was also one of the challenges, and how to navigate the Irish systems. And at the end, we intended to be able to have evidence to inform policies, but also to be able to advocate for systemic changes. And throughout the project, we did a number of activities. One of them was capacity building, because we wanted the project to be community-led. So we provided a series of capacity building sessions across 6 centers, 3 regions, and these were on around issues around gender-based violence and other challenges that affect migrant women, human rights, for them to be informed. And we trained around 89 women. And also we had a peer mentorship program, which impacted 24 women, whereby 12 women were paired with 12 other women who have navigated the asylum process to be able to get the support that they need, but also to get the awareness and also to be able to actively participate in the project. We also have had advisory board consultation. This was with other like-minded organizations who support migrants, like Women Collective Island Clare, Aremoja Women in Sligo, the Young People at Risk, and other like-minded organizations. And the main aim was to ensure that we also have enough expertise of other stakeholders in the field to be able to inform the project. We also had a publication on Echoes of Resilience. This documents personal stories of 10 women from different countries, Nigeria, Uganda, El Salvador, who shared their personal stories on how they navigated their experiences living in emergency accommodation centers. And also we had the final project report, which is the one now I'm presenting today, which documents the challenges. So I'll go straight to the findings from the final project report. One of the key challenges that was presented was mismanagement of accommodation centers. And in most of these centers, we found that there was no an effective monitoring system, but also there's no like a standard, overall standard operating procedures that manage these centers under IPAS. Also, we know we have the HICA, which is the Health Information and Quality Authority, but then HICA only manage around 6 centers. It's only for the permanent accommodation centers and not the emergency accommodation centers. So because of this kind of lack of a proper way of operating or standard operating procedures within the centers, most of the management was upon the discretion of the manager, some decision upon the decision of the manager. And also there was poor hygienic challenges in the centers. There were also other challenges related to food, because food is also like a basic human right, and food is for food to be a human right, it has to be also cultural appropriate. But in most centers, there was no cultural appropriate food. There was also food rationing. There were challenges around children going to school without having breakfast. And also there were key challenges also around overcrowding within the centers. So this kind of mismanagement also was contributed to the fact that most of the centers were previously hotels and Airbnb. So the kind of management is not kind of human rights centered, but rather it's more like profit oriented. And also there was a challenge around racial discrimination, whereby there was a different treatment among the residents from different kind of backgrounds. In some of the centers, they could say like there were kind of favoritism from people of certain racial discrimination to another, facing unequal treatment from the staff member, but also from fellow residents. And this led to challenges around isolation, also mental health challenges, and also overall feeling like disconnected from the Irish society. And also from racial discrimination as well, there are issues around language barriers, which also, heighten the kind of isolation. And on this also, regarding the mental health challenges, is also contributed by the fact that these women are already traumatized from where they are coming from, and then when they arrive here, they continue facing this kind of racism, which just like heighten their mental health challenges. And also most of the time when you're in the asylum process, you're also not sure of your future. You're not sure of the outcome of your application. So this leads to mental health challenges as well. Another challenge was overcrowding and cultural conflict. Most of the centers, they have several people sharing rooms, which also is against their right to privacy, and sometimes there is no private time to rest, to breastfeed, but also that brings around issue of cultural conflicts, especially people from different cultural backgrounds when uh, they are put together with strangers, maybe in the same room. It becomes very difficult to be able to navigate the kind of cultural clashes that can happen due to that situation. But also another challenge was safety and security. And on these, some centers, they mix genders, like they mix both men and women in the same centers. And this lead to a form of insecurity, but also some centers are located very remotely, which lead to which put them in the risk of harassment when commuting from work, from school, and from other activities outside the centers. But also under safety and security, it brings an issue of gender-based violence as well. And also there's a fear of reporting because there's already distrust with the system. Also some of the women, they don't know if they can report. And also there's a limited trauma-informed support system. So this make them more at risk of gender-based violence, and while they also fear to report. Another challenge was limited access to education and employment. I already mentioned about the centers being remote, but also for women who have children, because of challenges in accessing the healthcare, it was difficult for them to be able to get time to, 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 to take education programs or to take employment. And also for those women with professional background, it makes them to feel like they are being de-skilled or they are being isolated. And also due to remoteness, again, there's transport barrier. Sometimes you need to commute when you get a job, you need to commute from one place to another, but some of the centers which are very remote become very difficult. Also in the cultural conflict in parenting, there was no like a proper orientation on issues around parenting, and that has made most of the women with families and children to be in clash with TUSLA. Sometimes they are very worried, like, navigating the laws here in Ireland on maybe childcare and everything. So most of the time they had fear of their children being taken away by TUSLA, and while at the same time they lack the proper kind of information from the authorities. So those are some of the challenges, but then they are more in detail on the project document, which I'll be happy to share the link with everyone who would like to dig deeper. But also, as I mentioned earlier, we also produced another document, which is the Echoes of Resilience, which features stories around survival, fear, courage, and navigating motherhood. And this is a kind of a perfect tool for policy advocacy because it's more of personal stories of women who have navigated the asylum process and who have been living in their emergency accommodation centers. So I'll be happy also to share the link for this booklet as well. So these are some of the key recommendations that came up in response to the challenges raised. One of them is improving access to education, employment, and transportation, to view these issues as urgent, but also as human rights for these women, because like unemployment gives them like autonomy, but also is part of speeding their integration. Also to make sure that there's improved dignity and safety in accommodation. I remember once we were disseminating the same study in a group, and one of the people in the group said, actually, for me, I thought these women should be grateful, at least they have a roof on their head. So the government is doing well. Yes, we agree. The government is doing its best, but there's always a room to improvement, and especially not to overlook the dignity of the people who are within the system. So it's not enough to provide them with accommodation, to provide them with maybe food and other kind of support, but also to be able to make sure that all these are human rights centered. Also, mental health and parental support. Navigating the mental health is one of the very huge challenges because they have to access mental health support, mental health service through the GP referral, which is a very long process, considering that most of the women in emergency accommodation have already undergone through traumatic experiences of migration, as well as being already worried also about their future and other reasons that brought them. So it's important they get like a kind of a cultural sensitive mental health support. And also independent monitoring and anti-racism initiative is very important because to be able to provide like a safe report mechanism whereby people can feel comfortable reporting, but also without the fear that reporting any kind of violence or any kind of challenge they face may interfere with their application process. Also mandatory staff training, because we found that most of the staff they are not trained to support people who have experienced trauma. So it's important there is a mandatory staff training on trauma-informed services, but also on cultural competence, because the migrant women in the overall come from different cultural background, and sometimes the kind of treatment differs from one person to another. And some of the clashes, they actually on just cultural differences and they are not systemic. So it's important that all the staff working to support women in emergency accommodation center are trained. Yeah, and lastly, what we are looking forward is, first of all, to use this tool to be able to influence policy and practice, but also call for action for stakeholders and policymakers to stand in solidarity with these women in emergency accommodation center and make sure that we provide them with the necessary support, and also there's a system that is a more human rights centered. Also commitment to amplifying unheard voices. So we are calling out to other organizations to support us and other stakeholders in the commitment to make sure that these voices are amplified. Yeah, so thank you.